breakfast isn't the most important meal of the day. In fact, this is the first time I've eaten breakfast in many years. And who's to say it's even breakfast time? I could be filming this at any time imaginable. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's something we've been parroting for decades. But why? Well, around 150 years ago, various companies started cropping up that began to monopolise all of breakfast. No other meal is so dominated by recognisable brand names. Now, I don't want to be that guy saying that there are people in the world who stand to gain enormous profit from everyone thinking that breakfast is a really important meal of the day. But, have you ever seen this written on a shampoo bottle? For everyday use. That's pretty cheeky. It's not a good idea to wash your hair every day. Our hair needs a constant layer of oil coating it to protect it. Now, that oil also traps a load of filth over time, which is why every now and then you need to wash out that oil with shampoo. And then conditioner goes some way to replacing some of those oils with clean, filthless oils. The oil your hair needs to protect itself naturally comes from pores on your head. And so the longer your hair is, the more that you need to use conditioner to protect those bits of hair that are further away from the pores. Anyway, the important point is that the more you use shampoo, the more your head goes into emergency overdrive, we need to create more oil mode to protect the hair. And so by using shampoo, you are literally training your hair to be more oily. This is ideal if you're trying to sell daily use shampoo. Back to breakfast. The conventional wisdom is that breakfast kickstarts your metabolism. Metabolism is the name for the chemical processes that you need to be happening to keep you alive. But kickstarting it? What does that mean? When we eat something, two things happen to the energy in that food. Most of it is carefully stored for use later. Some of it is immediately burnt off, usually as heat. It's a little bit like an oil rig burning off a gas flare. Wasteful, but sort of warm. This process is called thermogenesis. When we eat a meal, on average we do about 90% useful storing, 10% thermogenesis. But if that meal is breakfast, we actually do slightly more of the thermogenesis for various reasons. Because of this, breakfast could be described as a slightly more wasteful meal, but the idea that breakfast kickstarts anything is sort of meaningless. If we're hungry, eating gives us energy, but we all knew that because eating is something that we all know how to do, right? In support of breakfast, it's well understood that eating a good breakfast, especially oats, I love oats, makes you better at doing endurance sports, which makes sense, because food contains energy, and you need energy to do endurance sports, right? But to be fair, if you were doing the endurance sports in the afternoon, then lunch as the first meal of the day would also be pretty adequate. Anyway, what I want to tell you about is actually far more interesting than all of this stuff. What I want to tell you about is how skipping breakfast can actually make you age slower. There's a prize called the Methuselah Mouse Prize, which is given to whoever can keep a mouse alive for as long as possible. Now, mice usually live about 2 or 3 years, but it's possible to keep a mouse alive over 10 years by carefully limiting its dietary intake. A few years ago, as the Methuselah Mouse Prize was being won, I was minding my own business, buried in a pile of sand on a beach, when suddenly a friendly doggo started enthusiastically digging me out, and in the course of doing so, gave me this tiny little scar. Normally, when we cut ourselves, our body heals itself by building on top of the cell structure that still exists below. But if we're cut so deep that the bottom layer of cells is destroyed, then the new cells don't know where to build on top, and so they fill in randomly almost anywhere, and the resulting structure isn't as strong, it's not as good. It's called scar tissue. This scar tissue story is important to understand aging, but what actually causes aging? It's caused mainly by free radicals. Free radicals are unpaired electrons. Electrons like to be in pairs. More or less every bond in the universe is made from a pair of electrons. And when a bond breaks, generally both of those electrons will go to one side of the bond because that way they get to stay as a pair. But every now and then, very, very rarely, a bond will break so that one electron goes in each direction, resulting in 2 free radicals, both of which have that unpaired electron that's ravenously desperate to pair up with any other electron. These free radicals don't follow the normal rules of chemistry. They will savagely react with anything so that they can pair up their electron.
But the problem is, by grabbing an electron from something else that was previously happy, they leave that something else now with an unpaired electron, which then goes and reacts with something else, and so on, leaving a trail of destruction. Free radicals in your body, and you get billions every day, whiz around destroying loads of stuff in your body. And this isn't a total disaster. Your cells are dying and being reborn all the time. In fact, within 7 years' time, almost every cell in your body will be a new one that you don't currently have now. But these free radicals cause problems when they destroy important base layers that new cells depend on for building on top of. As these base layers are destroyed, more scar tissue forms. Your skin becomes less perfect, your organs become weaker, and so you age. One of the main sources of free radicals is the set of reactions that happen when you try to get energy out of food. 2 things that you can do to reduce your free radical production are regular fasting, because it trains your body to store food more efficiently, and never eating to excess. If you skip breakfast, then you fast from dinner until lunch every single day. And it's also well documented that people who skip breakfast generally have a lower calorific intake each day. I'm not saying that everyone should skip breakfast. It's not a bad meal, but it's one of the easiest ways to fast regularly, so I've been trying it out. I mean, you could skip dinner and fast from lunch until breakfast, but no one wants to do that.
Thanks for watching. Spread the knowledge. Deliciously subscribe for more. And follow me on Snapchat and Instagram, @MatthewShribman, for my shorts in the shower and other sciencey things.
If you have a science question about this episode or anything at all, send it my way and I'll try to get it answered for you.